Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of ParentTown TV, and today we've got a really riveting topic. We're going to be talking about buying and selling pre-loved or second-hand baby and kids products, and we're going to be talking about what you should buy, what you should not buy, and how much should you be paying for pre-loved stuff. And so tonight we have Marigold Duncan from Bakipa, the app that allows moms to buy and sell online, and we're going to be talking about buying and selling. So, Marigold, tell me a little bit about yourself. Are you a mom?
Yeah, sure. I'm a mum. I have a daughter who's just over 2 and actually baby number 2 on the way.
Oh,
which I don't think you
congratulations.
knew now.
I did not know
Surprise.
that.
Yeah, so 1.5 kids.
Aw.
1.5 kids, a little girl and a boy on the way.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
And so what made you go into developing an app to allow moms to buy and sell?
Sure. So it was a big jump for me. I actually came from a banking background. But when I was expecting my first baby, I was shopping online and I was so surprised at the online experience. I felt that it was very fragmented, that you had to go through a lot of different websites to try and find products. And if you wanted to compare new and used items, it was even more complex. Very, very hard to put products side by side and compare and make a decision on buying those products. So the vision I had was one place where parents could go and find everything. So it's a marketplace model that brings pre-loved products together from parents as well as the best retail products from sellers in Singapore and across the world.
Oh, interesting. And so before you had children, did you ever buy and sell online, like on Craigslist, on Gumtree, on Facebook?
Yeah, I did. I have moved around quite a lot. So I grew up in Melbourne, lived in New Zealand, in 2 cities, in Christchurch and Auckland. Then I moved to Sydney and then Singapore. So I think if you move around a lot, you find yourself buying and selling quite a lot of stuff. When you move, you have to clear out, and when you set up, if you're used to moving, you know that you don't want to buy everything new again.
That's true.
So I was very familiar with buying and selling secondhand.
And when you became a mom, did you find yourself buying and selling more?
Yes, definitely. I did choose to buy quite a few pre-loved items for my daughter because I'm very, very comfortable and familiar with pre-loved. And then, of course, as soon as my baby sort of got to 3 months, 6 months, I started selling because there was so much stuff. And some things that I was given doubles of, I might have bought one and then gifted another, and I found I didn't need. And being in an apartment, we just don't have storage space.
Oh.
So I didn't want to hold on to those things, and I very quickly listened to sale.
Oh, interesting. And what's been the best buy you've bought online? Secondhand.
The best buy, it's hard to choose because I think there's 2 equal. One would be the crib.
Okay.
I bought a crib online, bought a new mattress for it, but the crib itself, I really saved hundreds and hundreds of dollars on that crib, and it's in perfect condition, and my daughter loves it like it was brand new. She wouldn't know. And we love it. So that was a fantastic buy. And the other would be my secondhand stroller. I bought my first stroller new and bought a lightweight stroller secondhand, and again just saved an incredible amount of money, and it's perfect.
Why did you buy the first stroller new?
Probably because I knew I was going to have a few children, and knew I'd get the use out of it, basically. So
Okay.
I felt confident that it would be in tatters by the time I was finished with it. So I didn't necessarily want to go for the second-hand stroller first.
Any regrets about products that you've bought secondhand that you wish you didn't?
No, I don't. I'm really pleased with all the products I've bought. As I mentioned, there's a crib and a stroller, some toys, puzzles and books I bought secondhand. I'm really pleased with all of them. I haven't had a bad experience, but I did do research before purchasing. So there were certain items I chose not to buy, and I bought those new because I didn't feel comfortable buying secondhand. And the products I did buy secondhand, I made sure to ask the seller lots of questions and make sure I was comfortable with the condition they're in before I bought them. So no regrets.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the ParentTown app and see what some of the moms have asked about
Sure.
buying and selling pre-loved. But so you mentioned you asked the seller a lot of questions. What kind of questions did you ask?
Mainly about the condition and how it had been used before.
Mm-hmm.
Some products they say are in new condition. So just to clarify before you pick it up, you ask, is it still in the packaging if you say new? Because if you don't clarify these things, sometimes you get a mismatch of expectations. It's not that the seller was telling lies. It might just be that they didn't say exactly how it was used or the condition. And sometimes that can lead to disappointment. So just any questions that you might have in your mind, like how it's been used, and exactly what state it's in.
Okay, so what state it's in, whether it has tags on,
Yeah.
and if the packaging is new or if it's removed from its packaging.
That's right. One question I forgot to ask, which was a learning experience, was to ask for assembly instructions for my crib. So we got this fantastic crib, but we didn't have assembly instructions. So
Well,
that
there's
was a
always
lesson.
YouTube.
That was a lesson. Yeah, we did find a way to do it. Actually, my husband has spent a lot of time trial and error. But that's one thing you should also ask.
Okay. And so we have a mom here who's asked, what do you personally wish that you had bought pre-loved?
I really did buy a few items pre-loved. I don't feel that there's anything I missed personally. And those key items were the crib, stroller, toys and books, the key things. Potentially I could have bought more clothes pre-loved, because now running Bakipa I see a lot of clothing bundles, and I see now how quickly my baby grew out of those clothes. So perhaps if anything I could have bought more pre-loved clothes.
Oh, interesting. And so we actually have like an example of a romper here. And so what if a mom wants to go and buy a romper, what should she look at? What should she consider?
If she's buying pre-loved?
Mm-hmm.
Pre-loved, really it's all about how much it's been worn, whether there's any marks or stains, and whether there's any tears. Apart from that, clothing's quite safe because you can wash clothing with disinfectant detergents. So there's not too many safety considerations. The one other safety consideration would be that the buttons are still tightly fixed, because if there's any sign that those buttons are coming loose, that's a safety risk for your child.
Okay, yeah. So generally clothes, no problem. We can buy this pre-loved.
Correct.
Wonderful.
Fantastic thing to buy pre-loved because they literally wear them once.
Okay. And they outgrow it really, really, really quickly.
Exactly.
So we've got, is it safe to buy pre-loved breast pumps? If yes, which brand and model would you recommend? A double pump preferred for going back to work?
We do see some people buying pre-loved breast pumps, but generally it's not encouraged. Breast pumps often have parts inside that can be contaminated with milk, and they can't be cleaned. So they're irreplaceable. They call it, say, a diaphragm in a lot of the pumps. So because this is not visible and it's not replaceable or cleanable, there is a risk that some milk gets stuck inside and then can obviously grow bacteria and can infect.
So this is not tubings, this is the pump itself?
It's within the pump, so it's a piece within the pump that's not removable. So often the tubing can be replaced, but there are still other parts inside that can't be. So unless it's a hospital grade pump that is made specifically to be cleanable, it's not recommended that you do use a pre-loved pump. In some cases, if you're restricted, some people may not have a choice budget-wise. They may feel that it's either pre-loved or they don't get one. So I would never ever judge a mum who made that decision. But just do be careful and ask how long it's been used for, how much it's being used. And you may even be lucky enough to find one that's not being used at all for various reasons. Some people buy one and never find they use it. So
absolutely, I have an extra freebies just lying around.
Yeah, so that's a steal. That's a great way to purchase one second hand.
Okay, so prefer to buy that brand new.
Definitely prefer it if possible. Yep.
Okay, so clothes okay, breast pumps no go. We've got car seats. Are second-hand car seats okay to buy? And if how old should a car seat be to be deemed to be okay to buy second-hand?
Car seats are definitely another product that is not recommended because it's very hard to see if the car seat's been damaged. Sometimes the car seat, if it's been in an accident, it may not have an obvious external crack, but there could be something internal in the car seat that makes it vulnerable if it were to be an accident again. So car seats are not highly recommended. If you really need to buy a car seat second-hand, again, if it's a case of no car seat or a pre-loved car seat, there are things you can do to check. So ask the seller if it's been in an accident. Make sure you feel comfortable that the seller's being honest. Secondly, look at the expiration date. Many car seats do have expiration dates somewhere on a sticker on the car seat. So you can check that it's not past that date.
I had no idea car seats had expiration dates.
Yeah, they do. Another reason they have an expiration date is often because the plastic can become brittle and again more susceptible to break in an accident. So that's why they don't last forever. Third, if you can't find an expiration date, the general rule is under 5 years is best. Under 10 years, absolutely never buy a car seat that's more than 10 years old.
Okay. So car seat as well is a kind of no-go.
Not recommended.
Not recommended. Got it. Okay, we've got what other things to consider when buying a pre-loved baby cot. So now we know cot is fine because you bought one.
Yeah, you can buy pre-loved baby cots. I recommend it. I found it a fantastic way to go. But there are some things to consider. There are some models of cot that have been discontinued for safety reasons. They have spring sides. Often you can let down the side of a cot so that it's easier to reach a baby. But some had springs and they were found to be unsafe. So do check if the type of cot you're looking at has been recalled. There's ways to check that online. And secondly, check that all the parts are there. Obviously, it's very disappointing if you get the cot home and there's no screws. And finally, I would check that you do have assembly instructions, which was a great learning experience for me.
Okay. Is it safe to buy pre-loved kids' books when diseases such as hand, foot, and mouth disease can be transmitted through direct contact with unwashed surfaces containing traces of the virus? Is there a proper way to disinfect or clean books?
It's not possible to disinfect paper books. If you have fabric or plastic books, obviously you can put the fabric books in the wash, and plastic books you can wipe down actually using a diluted bleach. It's okay to use bleach on plastic products. The chlorine actually evaporates, as long as it's diluted to the right, according to the instructions. So plastic and fabric are fine. When it comes to paper, it turns out that bacteria can actually survive on paper, but only 72 hours or maximum up to a week. So if you want to buy paper books and you're concerned about those sorts of risks, buy them, put them in the cupboard for a week, and then you're probably safe to bring them out. And in fact, it's a fantastic way to go if you're comfortable with that, because it's recycling rather than creating more and more waste.
Or download it on your Kindle.
That's also an option. Yeah. Although we're a bit anti-screen time sometimes.
Yeah. So these sorts of fabric books, no problem?
Yeah, they can go in the washing machine.
Okay.
Hot wash.
Great.
Disinfectant.
And these sorts of books,
yeah,
leave them in the cupboard for a week because they've got paper.
Yes. Yes.
Good advice here. What about toys? Can you actually buy pre-loved toys? And what type of toys should you avoid buying?
Yeah, so toys are very, very popular, sell on Bakipa, especially plastic toys. Plastic toys are the easiest because they can be wiped down. They generally last very well. They don't fall apart. They don't have small pieces that can break off as easily. So plastic toys are very, very popular. As I mentioned earlier, you can wash them with a bleach solution. You can either throw the whole toy into the bucket of bleach, or you can wipe it down. If it's got batteries, obviously don't throw that into a water solution. Just wipe it down, allow it to sit and dry, and the chlorine in the bleach will evaporate. So toys like this, for example, are fantastic to buy pre-loved and sell very, very well on Bakipa. Very, very good. Soft toys are a little less popular pre-loved, to be honest. People are concerned that the bacteria can survive inside the fabric. You can wash soft toys on a hot wash, like clothing, but some parents tend to be a little more cautious with soft toys. You also have to be careful with soft toys that the small parts aren't coming loose. The eyes, the nose, they obviously pose a choking hazard. So a few things to be careful of.
So for the toys as well, can we just put them in our UV sterilizers?
If it fits.
Okay.
Large UV sterilizer, yes.
That's true.
Yes.
Or a really small toy.
Yes, or a really small toy.
Got it.
That's right.
Okay, when hygiene is not a factor, what should I consider when hunting for pre-loved items for my baby?
Really, the condition would be the main thing. So making sure that you ask the right questions so that the condition meets your expectation. If safety and hygiene is not a concern, then it really comes down to condition.
And what are some items that we should never ever buy pre-loved for kids?
The ones that are really recommended to avoid, as we discussed earlier, are breast pumps and car seats. They're really the two that are warned against. Apart from that, recalled items. So it's really important to check that any product you're looking to buy, whether it be a stroller, a sort of equipment type product, or even a sling carrier, they can often be recalled as well, or they can sometimes be recalled as well. So it's really important never to just be too relaxed about that. I really recommend always checking that the model you're looking to buy, model of any product you're looking to buy, has not been recalled.
Interesting. So when we're buying a carrier, what are some of the things that we should consider?
Yeah, so for a carrier, the biggest safety risk obviously would be that it comes undone. So check that the clips and the ties are all secure. There's no cracks and no missing pieces. That would be the first thing to check. Secondly, check the seam. So just have a scan over the product and make sure that the stitching is intact and there's no areas that might come loose. Finally, as I mentioned, check for recalls. There have been past cases where slings and carries have been recalled.
Okay, great advice here. And we've got, are there any surefire methods to thoroughly clean pre-loved items? This includes clothes, shoes, toys, and books.
Yeah, clothes and shoes and the fabric books can certainly go in the washing machine. It's fantastic, it's easy, it's quick, and it's thorough. And then when it comes to the plastic toys, using a bleach solution, or there's also products on the market like this one, which has chlorine in it. It has a similar effect. These can be used to clean products. Just make sure before you use the bleach or the cleaning product to wipe it down first and remove all the grime. If there's food stuck to it, bacteria can exist under that food. So even if you've thrown it into a bleach solution, bacteria could survive if there was food or something stuck to the product. So make sure to wipe it down carefully first and then use your bleach or your cleaning product.
And so bleach is okay. What happens if your child gets in touch with the product and it still has remnants of bleach or any of these products?
Yeah, people do often worry about the toxicity of bleach, but the harmful, if you dilute it according to the instructions, that's really important. Any harmful or toxic element of the bleach does evaporate, so it is safe. You can use it on your children's products.
What about clothes that have stains on them? So do we have to worry about any remnant germs or anything being part of the stains? Or
as long as you've washed it with a good detergent, an antibacterial detergent, you're pretty safe. Even if there's a stain, that just means the colours come out of the clothing. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's any remnant of the food left. It depends on the type of stain, of course. But as long as you've given it a good wash, it's fine.
Is there a benchmark for the percentage of an original price that you should be paying for pre-loved goods? Should it be at least 25% or 50%?
It really varies on the condition of the item. So some items really are in brand new condition in the box. And those items obviously are often at the higher end of the range. But the seller does have to be aware, although you feel like your item's in perfect condition and it's got a high value, you have to be aware that the buyers do have an option to go to the shop and buy a new version. And to buy pre-loved is a little bit inconvenient. You have to go to the person and meet up, arrange to meet up. So if a seller wants to be realistic about selling their product and passing on to another parent, it's better to market, I think, at least 50% of the retail value. If you market above 50%, there's a very high chance the buyers will just choose to buy it at the shop instead. Yeah.
What about double pre-loved things? Do you see things like that? So a mom's bought something pre-loved and then she puts it back up in the market 3 months later.
If it's something that's in great condition, like if you were to buy this pre-loved and then you used it for a short time, you could. There's no reason you couldn't resell that. I do recommend sellers be honest and tell people, just to be fair. I think if you were buying something, you'd like to know the history of it. But with plastic items, especially that are in good condition, there's no reason not to pass it on. Why should it go to the waste? Why should it go to disposal just because it's been used by someone else?
Okay, well, so the last question, on the Bakipa app itself, do you see that there's certain trends of things that people sell more of?
Yeah, so on the sell side, we see a lot of clothing bundles listed or clothing pieces listed. As I mentioned, I didn't even realise till I became a mother how quickly you go through clothes. And I was also given a lot. So I'd already bought stuff for my baby, and then I was given a lot of gifts when she arrived, and it was mainly clothing. So you do see a lot of that passing on to the pre-loved market.
What about with regards to demand?
With demand. So when it comes to buying, it's a little bit different. Some clothing sells, especially in bundles, say 10 pieces for $10, where it's really good value. But there's really more popular demand for plastic toys. Things like walkers, the exosources, those big round toys, they sell extremely well because they're very expensive new, and the baby really uses them for a short time, 3 months or so, and they're hard to store. So the larger toys, plastic toys that can be cleaned and disinfected, are really the top sellers.
Thank you so much for tuning in for tonight's episode of ParentTown TV. And thank you, Marigold, for joining us. Do you have any parting words for our parents?
Sure. So what we discussed tonight is that buying pre-loved is a fantastic option if you just take a few simple precautions. Firstly, always check that any product you're looking to buy has not been recalled. So simply look up the model online and make sure that it's okay to buy and use. Secondly, always clean the product carefully that you purchase. If it's a fabric product, clothing, toys, throw it in the washing machine. If it's a plastic toy, wipe it down with either a toy cleaning product or a diluted bleach product. So always make sure you've removed any germs. Finally, do ask the seller questions before you go to purchase any item to make sure that your expectations are in line with the product and the reality. Sometimes if there's any issues that occur, it's usually simply because there's a lack of communication. So ask away, make sure you know what you're buying, and then enjoy the product. And enjoy helping the environment and connecting with your community.
It's great advice. Thank you again for joining us. Good night.
Good night.